Okay, so up next we have Emma. She is one of the ADOSs at IH Bydgoszcz and is going to become the DOS next year. She's been teaching for a while now, and she is going to be sharing some ideas with us about creative thinking in the classroom. Over to you, Emma.
Thanks. Okay, going to warn you guys in advance, there will be participation involved in this session. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking briefly a little bit about creative thinking and basically why you should care about it and why you should bother using it in your classroom. Okay, so creative thinking, along with critical thinking, is one of the global skills. Okay, these global skills, they're an increasing trend, not just in EFL, but in education as a whole. Lots of ministries of education around the world are kind of making them mandatory in their national curriculums. And you've also got organizations like UNESCO kind of creating frameworks for education that include these skills. The idea is that these are the things that someone needs in the 21st century to be successful, like academically, professionally, and just personally as well. Obviously, none of these are new ideas. Okay, these ideas have been around for ages. What is newer is the idea that these are things that should be taught across any subject, and also the idea of moving away from traditional subjects in education. Okay, so the idea that you don't need to learn a load of dates if you're studying history because you've got Google, but what you do need to know is your digital literacy skills, like how to use these tools correctly. Okay, so that's kind of the bigger picture. Okay, in terms of like why you should care within your classroom, I know I definitely have, I'm sure you guys all have as well, been in situations where you ask students a question or you set up a task and they just sit there and look at you in silence. They say nothing, or maybe they give you one or two words and nothing else. Okay, obviously there's lots of reasons these things could be happening, but one potential reason for why students are reacting in this way is that they are worried about saying something wrong. They're worried about making a mistake. Okay, and as we know, this makes our job a lot harder because we know that these mistakes are essential for language learning. Okay, so if you can use some activities that encourage this kind of creative thinking where there is no correct answer, it can help students make connections between different things. It can help them learn to come up with multiple solutions to the same question, and basically help them act on intuition, which can lead them to be more confident, more motivated, and therefore like talking to you a bit more in your classroom, hopefully. Also, these activities, they can be quite engaging and quite fun as well. Okay, so now I've given you a bit of background, we are going to have a bit of a go. I am going to give you 30 seconds and I would like you to grab an object, any object you like. 30 seconds, go. It could be close, it could be far. Okay, brilliant, right. Okay, Ruth, could I have some breakout rooms, please?
You can indeed. How many?
Thank you very much. Is that nice? 2 possibly.
Okay, and would you like
how many does that give me in each room?
3 to 4 participants per room.
Yeah, that will do.
Would you like them assigned automatically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so on the screen is a question. In your breakout rooms, I would like you to come up with as many answers to this question as possible. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. Go.
Bear with, because at the moment Emma's also in one. Just need to override that. Right, there we go.
Thank you. I'm assuming you're not in one, Ruth.
No.
Good, because I suddenly thought I won't be able to close them.
No, this is just going to be a fun part of the recording. where everybody just gets to watch us talk about breakout rooms. What was the question? What do all the objects have in common?
Yeah.
What were the objects? I didn't see.
I don't know. I didn't see. Some held them up, some didn't. This is fun.
I don't know, can you control breakout rooms now and make you co-host?
No, my only option is to join a breakout room.
Cool.
Oh.
Do you want to do any monitoring?
No. We'll give them like 30 seconds and then we'll bring them back. It's just to get the idea more than anything else. Okay, cool. Do you want to press the button?
Yeah, there's a 14-second countdown.
Okay. Okay, cool. So what kind of ideas did you guys come up with? Just turn your mics on and tell me. We don't need to worry about chat boxes.
They're all man-made.
Nice. Anything else?
The potential murder weapons.
I'm not going to ask who came up with that idea. I feel it's probably best I don't know the answer to that question. All can be painted. Yeah, nice, Alex. Thanks. Okay. So this activity is based on the random principle. Okay, the idea that can about making connections between two seemingly random things. On screen now is a list of other similar activities that you can use that use this principle. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to have a look, have a read. Feel free to ask me any questions if they don't make sense. I'll give you a couple of minutes to look at that. Okay, cool. So one other activity that works on this random principle is story dice. I guess probably some of you guys have already seen them, but thanks to the era of Zoom, there is an online story dice generator, I guess would be the right word. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what I did with my C1 team class and how I made a lesson out of this. Okay. So this team class that I have, they are incredibly confident. They will talk and talk and talk about absolutely anything. Okay. But one thing that I have noticed, like obviously because we're working on Zoom and because we can see their writing in Google Docs, I noticed that when they were writing, they would write a little bit, delete it, write it again, delete it again. And it seemed to be that basically, again, they were sort of worried about it not being correct and about making mistakes, because obviously when it's written, the mistakes stand out more. And obviously, you know, with pen and paper, you're a bit more committed than you are using the Google Docs. So they were taking advantage of this, right, delete, right, delete, right, delete, and sort of ending up with nothing. So I wanted to do something to kind of increase their confidence in this way. So what I did is, these are the pictures that were generated for this class. And to start off with, we sort of thought about the associations each of the different pictures could represent. Okay, so for example, with the rocket, obviously they came up with the obvious things like space, the moon, travel. And then we kind of had a few more random things, like they came up with like, oh, David Bowie, and a few other things. I'm going to be honest, I've kind of forgotten. So we did that one as a class. Then I gave them time in their groups to look at the other pictures and kind of come up with these other associations. Okay, and then I asked them to write the strangest story that they could. Okay, and this is what one group came up with. Okay, when I was setting this up, like, I made it really clear to them, okay, I'm not interested in your grammar. I'm not going to correct your grammar. All I'm interested in is you creating the strangest story that you possibly can. Okay, and they got into it. They wrote. There wasn't this constant deleting, rewriting, deleting, rewriting. They just came out with this. And, you know, you can see there's some stuff in there that there's a few mistakes. There's some things that aren't necessarily completely clear. But I just ignored it, and I concentrated on asking them questions about kind of expanding on their ideas and expanding on the story. The words in pink was some work we did afterwards. We talked about improving creative writing by adding in adjectives and adverbs. So then they changed groups and they added adjectives and adverbs to the other group's story. Okay, and this is the kind of the final outcome. This in total, I would say, took about 45 minutes of my lesson. And all I had to do was basically go to that website at the start of the lesson. There was no other preparation involved, but a lot came out of it. And the students were really into it. They were really motivated, and they did really enjoy it. So, I think it was pretty successful from that point of view. Okay, so we're going to look now. So we've been looking at these ideas with the random principle. We're going to look now at an activity that uses divergent thinking. Okay, divergent thinking is like another of the skills that kind of comes under the umbrella term of creative thinking. Again, Ruth, can I have some breakout rooms, please? Okay, here is your task, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. Thanks.
I saw an excellent / stupid life hack video the other day that was like, oh, if you have a cup that doesn't have a handle and you don't know how to pick it up because it doesn't have a handle, this is how you can use zip ties to create a handle on your cup. And it's like, you've overlooked the fact that you have a hand.
Like, what's the difficulty? And also, because, you know, mugs with handles are really difficult to come by.
Yeah, absolute nightmare, right?
Yeah, some of those life hacks, I'm like, oh, you're just creating more work for yourself. Like, the hack is more work than it actually worth. Yeah, whoever watches this recording is really gonna...
If somebody doesn't think up the idea of having like an image changing, like heat changing image thing on the other side of this mug, I feel like they have missed a fundamental
Let
part
us
of this
down.
mug. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the first one is, well, you need to add coffee to it to improve it.
What could you add to a coffee cup to improve it? I needed to have said this coffee cup to get the answer. I don't think anybody's
Okay,
going to say that.
well, no. What time am I finishing? 1:45?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Bring them back. It's like with a teaching assistant.
I don't think I want a teaching assistant.
Okay, so here are some potential ideas. What else did you guys come up with that is not there? Or oh, I can't see my chat box. Add wheels. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, anything else you guys came up with? Glow in the dark paint, nice Ash. You can just turn your mics on, guys. It's a small group. We don't need to use the chat box.
An edible cup.
Made out of what, Monica?
Don't know. It's a dream.
Yeah, yeah. It'd have to be quite sturdy. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. Cool. Anything else?
We talked about having some kind of like suction thing on the bottom so you could pick it up easily, but you couldn't like knock it over.
Yeah, I definitely need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We said an
Okay.
alarm as well, so it reminds you before it gets cold.
Yeah, no, that is what I want. That is definitely what I need. And it says added a heated handle.
I love
Nice
these.
warm feeling. Yeah.
You should patent
You have a
that.
nice warm feeling, even if you drink something cold. Cool. Nice. Okay, cool. So there's some other ideas here. No. There are other examples of divergent thinking activities. The YouTube link is a link to like quite a cute video of basically a boy like playing with a cardboard box and kind of turning it into different things. So it's quite a nice way of extending that kind of activity of how many uses can you think of for something. Oh yeah, no, I forgot to say, as a follow-up to that coffee cup activity, what I've done with it then is kind of, I've gone on to have the students kind of create adverts, like selling their kind of new and improved coffee cup. And then we've even gone into like a Dragon's Den style kind of pitching activity. So you kind of can take the initial creative thinking activity, and then expand it out to then do some language work with it. So like language of kind of persuasion, language of description and stuff worked quite well with those sort of coffee cup activities. Okay. Overview, and there's 30 more seconds for people who might still be reading those activities. Okay, cool. So then finally, these are kind of my tips for kind of using activities like this. I think they're kind of ideal activities. They work well as warmers. They also work well as if you've kind of got younger learners and you want a bit of a brain break. You could just sort of have they've had break, maybe you come back and just do a 5-minute activity of doing something like this. And I think the more you do them, the more confident students will become doing this kind of thing. Like potentially at first, you still might get a bit of hesitancy. They might be, oh, I'm not sure what the correct answer is. But the more you do it, the more they become used to it. I think the key thing though is avoiding any judgment on their ideas, and also avoiding kind of overcorrection. So this type of activity, if they make a mistake with their language, as long as, you know, their kind of meaning is there, you let the language go. Yeah, this is not what these are about. Okay, it's about encouraging their confidence and kind of their ability to communicate. Okay, so finally, if you're interested in finding out more, there are some resources there, or you can feel free to contact me, or for most of you, come and find me in the staff room, hopefully next year when we're back in the staff room. Okay, cool. That's me. Does anyone have any questions?
Emma, can we get this PowerPoint? It's going to be shared.
Yeah, I can put it in the Google Drive for people who are at school. If you're not at school, if you send me an email, I can send it to anybody who would like it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody?
Question, but because you said you did this, was this with like 7K or L6, L7? Did you say
L7 I've did it with. I have done it with lower levels and younger students in the past though, with a similar thing.
Because I wanted to ask, like, let's say you did this with a, I don't know, a B1 group or an A2 group. What sort of, I mean, it's on them to be creative and come up with things, but what sort of, how would you help them get there? Like if they need some linguistic help?
With the ideas?
Yeah, like, because if it's a lower level group, then it's going to be the creativity, let's say, it might be a little bit more limited, but it's a language that's stopping them. It's not their actual ability to be creative. Yeah,
exactly. So I think in that situation, obviously you need to provide a bit more scaffolding. So, I mean, I did this with L7 and I pretty much just left them to it. I did very little for about 15, 20 minutes. So I was a big fan of that. When I've done it in the past, and similar activities in the past with lower levels, I have had to intervene a lot more in kind of asking them like more questions. So for example, if they've got So the one, if I go back to that slide, so they had the cactus, for example. So if they've said, okay, oh, we were in the desert. Like, oh, okay, why were you in the desert? What was the weather like in the desert? Who else was in the desert? So you have to ask a lot more questions to kind of bring it out of them. But I'd say it's still a worthwhile activity to do. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much, Emma. Does anybody have any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much.